game last year, and what can you all take from that performance this week?
That wasn't our standard. We had too many MAs, and you live and you learn from it. So it stung, but we move on to the next week.
For someone who's unaware, just what are the main challenges of going up against that air raid offense, that style?
Just knowing our keys, alignment, assignment basically. All the little details, they just tell you, what you're getting. So yeah.
What did you all think of that South Carolina film when you went back? What stood out, especially in the second half?
I just feel like it wasn't enough strain. So that really was one thing that stood out, and just stung. So, it stung, and, like I said, you take it on the chin, and then you move on from it. You live and you learn, so yeah.
It's like Mississippi State has a track record this season of jumping on people early. Has that been something that's been stressed, the need to get out on a good start?
Yeah, but that's with every team. Every team wants to jump on you early. That's just coming out ready, loose, ready to go, with that urgency to play. So can't come out sluggish, and that's how a good team gets on you. You come out sluggish and slow. So, as long as you come out with that sense of urgency and that dog ready to play, it's going to be a dogfight.
How would you assess the mood in the locker room this week after the two different games?
We talked about it as a team, and the move's good. We're bringing each other up. We're working on things, and there's no one's down. That's how you stay down. Is how losses build. So as long as you watch film and you take what you learn from it, and then you keep building on it.
How do you feel about your personal growth this season? I know you had some big goals for yourself. How do you feel like that's going?
I feel like it's going well. Still a long season still. Halfway there-ish. So I'm just still building on everything, and just keep stacking plays and keep stacking days and games. So yeah.
He's not on your side of the ball, but will be back apparently. Does that lift the energy of the entire team defense too?
Definitely. Our offensive leader. He can throw the ball, so it's good to have him back. So yeah.
On the defensive side, leadership-wise, did you all really miss Jacquez more in the field maybe than you anticipated to, or just not having him there? Yeah,
but we still have some good young guys. So we relied on them a lot, and they showed up, but there's still stuff to work on. So yeah.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, Nick. Good?
Yeah.
All right. Now, question for coach.
Brett, what did you make of the film of South Carolina, especially the second half?
Yeah, obviously he wasn't good enough. I thought the guys competed in the first half, and not that they didn't compete in the second half, but it wasn't our standard. Like there were too many plays in there that, missed tackles was a big issue. Some of the run fits, that we haven't missed, especially, I think, we mentioned after the game was, from the perimeter, we've got to be better there, and we had a couple of missed opportunities in that second half. On that first drive, we had an opportunity to intercept it. It had been a tough interception on the second play, but still one that I think we can make. We're off the field, a third down. A guy just isn't precise, in his pass rush, and what it does is it closes off the runner, the free runner that we're looking for. It's little things like, and that's what we've stressed this week, and we've tried to make a point is that, hey, listen, little errors can get magnified because it trickles over to somebody else's job and the way that the system and the scheme is designed. And so I think some guys try to do too much in certain opportunities, and when you try to do too much, you get exposed in big plays. So we've got to play better. We know we got to play crisper. We showed in the first half, we were able to get some turnovers that we've been hunting. We got the pick there at the end of the half, which is a great play by Trevin, and the sack fumble there down in the high red zone, which was a big play, saving points. And so, but we've got to put a full game together. Football's not just 30 minutes. It's not 45. It's 60. And so we got to play a full game. Obviously this week, huge challenge. This offense over the last 2 SEC games, averaging 520 yards a game. I mean, we understand, and it's not just through the air. I mean, their ground game, they're running it hard. Their running backs are really talented, really physical, play with square shoulders. They can jump cut. It's obviously the quarterback is playing at a extremely elite level right now. He understands the offense. He knows where to go. He recognizes coverage. He can make his reads. He can go through his progressions. The receivers make contested catches. So, we've got to play at a really high level to be able to have some success this week.
Are there any changes on the back end in your secondary for this week, knowing that they're going to throw the ball so many times?
No, I mean, we're going to be who we are.
How would you assess how the defensive lines played through the first half of the season?
Well, I mean, to single out the defensive line versus any other position group, I think every position group we've had has been, they've had their moments, they've flashed, they've played well at times, and then, at other moments, I thought we could have played better. I think at times we've played really good against the run up there. I still think we need to be more active up front, in conversion and pass rush when it's time to hunt. But that's not just the defensive line; that's the outside linebackers are the same way. Like we, as a group right now, we need to strain a little bit more. We need to be active a little bit more, and we're leaving plays out on the field. And those plays can help change momentum. Those plays can help win ball games, and we can't leave those out here.
Do you feel like Jacques presence not being out there most of the last 2 games has affected the defense, just maybe not so much physically, but just mentally?
Yeah, you just never know exactly. I mean, I think we've got quite a few leaders on this team, but no, anytime you lose a really high level, not just starter and quality player, and obviously his production, but his leadership and his presence, you feel that, and just like everybody else across the country, we've felt it, in various games, and we've had to deal with injuries, but that everybody does, and so I think there's obviously. But I thought De'Eric stepped up, and I thought De'Eric played, a really solid football game. There are still a couple of plays that he could have played better, but he made some really big plays for us, and he's continuing to progress. So that's part of this game. Injuries occur. Next guy steps up. But yeah, you always sense that a little bit, just from anytime you lose a good football player.
How much, if any, do you guys talk about what happened in this game last year with how much success that offense had?
I mean, every time you play an opponent every single season, you have to watch the previous year's game, and usually you watch multiple years of that. So if you played well, you try not to get too high because it's another game. If you didn't play well, usually you're just disgusted that you have to watch it over and over. But at the same time, it can help spur motivation, and we got to clean up those things that we didn't do well. And number one thing, that we can't carry over from last week to this week was missed tackles. And last year we missed 21 of them in the Mississippi State game.
Does that come into play on yards after catch? They're number 1, I think, in the country.
Absolutely. I mean, it was, last year those running backs when they got the ball into their hands, how many yards after the catch they made. And the year before when we played well, we were able to pin those down and limit those, yak yards. Obviously the year before as well, the turnovers was a huge deal. I mean, and we need to find a way to create some. Rodgers has been super efficient. He does a nice job. He's smart. He protects the football. Again, their running game has really helped continue to open the pass game even more, where there are more explosive plays out there because you can't just sit back in an umbrella. They'll run the football. And so, no, they are really a complementary football team right now from an offensive standpoint because they're extremely balanced.
When tackles hadn't been a problem, then all of a sudden they show up in a game like Saturday, what is that? Lack of concentration, technique, or just a bad night? What's the reason?
No, there's multiple reasons for that. Sometimes I thought Lloyd ran really hard, and so when you have a guy like that running really hard, you're going to have some natural, missed tackles. But I thought we didn't tackle as a unit, so that if there is a single missed tackle when he is slightly off balance, if you have multiple hats to the football, you can put him to the ground. But if you're not swarming at that moment, then it's another isolation tackle, which then can get missed. And then, what you need multiple hats so that when that ball carrier isn't in a position to make the first guy miss, that you can get those other guys to get the ball down. And I thought that's going to have a direct correlation to this game because we were in a lot of isolation situations last year, and when that first guy misses, if other defenders aren't nearby, then he gets those yak yards that were talked about. Plus, he's in another isolation situation, so we have to be better.
I'm sorry about that. Is it more difficult to prepare for an offense like this as 10 guys over 100 receiving yards than maybe one that has one or two go-to guys?
It's a tough game to prepare for just from the fact that they're an extremely efficient offense that's lighting up scoreboards and moving the ball at will. So whether it's 10 receivers or 2 receivers, or it's the running game. Whenever you have an offense that's been this explosive, that's the challenge. It's trying to find a way just to slow it down.
They've jumped on a lot of people early, and you've preached this season about better starts, faster starts. It seemed like you had that after the early touchdown in this last one. Did you like what you saw between that and going into halftime?
Well, it's an interesting question. And from the fact that, did I like the way we played the first half? Sure. But then to play a terrible second half, leaves no good taste in my mouth. I don't know. What's better, to come out slow and play great in the second half, or come out fast and play terrible in the second? They're both bad. What we need is come out fast and then stay strong, throughout. And that's what we have to do.
Back to your point, seeking that
complete game, which we have yet to do. We have not done that. We have to come out of the locker room in both halves.
Coach, how do you feel like Jordan Levitt has stepped into his role since he's become a starter in Jalen?
Yeah, I think he's continuing to grow. Every game, I think there's a comfort level. I think he's at a stage right now that he believes in himself. There's confidence, and we talked about that weeks ago, where he just needs to get enough reps and make enough plays that he's confident in himself. We are, as a staff, his teammates, they have complete confidence. He needs to believe. I think he is getting to that point. Are there a lot of things that we can get better at? Absolutely. He'd be the first one to tell you. But the instinctual piece will start to come, where the game slows down for him. It hasn't slowed down. It's still pretty fast. And it hasn't helped that every week we haven't really played two offenses that have been similar back-to-back weeks. So every week he has to kind of restart. But that's good in the long-term progress for him to have faced that many different offenses, and he has to learn through all those. It's going to help him in the long run. But it does make the game play faster for him. But it is starting to slow down a little bit.
Nice one.
You're not going to duplicate the turnovers that you did in 2020, I'm sure. But how much of the you kind of touched on it, how much is that a big part of slowing this type of offense down and making them kind of go out and what they're used to?
Yeah, I think anytime you can create a turnover, you eliminate the drive at that point. And that's a huge piece. I think when you look back at last year's game and you talk about coming out of halftime, they had the really long drive. I can't remember exactly how many plays it was, 17 maybe, ended up being a field goal. But there were multiple opportunities in that drive to get off the field. Whether it was third down, we had a dropped pick. We had opportunities. But when you miss those opportunities, drives extend, you have to do more plays. They continue to gain confidence. It also limits the number of possessions our offense can have the ball. So those turnovers are a huge piece to get the ball back to our offense.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ty.
What do you take from last year's matchup against them that you can apply this one?
Just fixing our mistakes from last year, tackling better as a unit, getting our feet in the ground, having vision. Just, things we messed up on last year a lot.
Tackling, Coach White was just saying that was a problem Saturday against South Carolina. So how does that kind of pop up when that's not been an issue?
Just you got to fully always give it your all on defense. You can't slightly here and there play. Somebody running the ball wants to score, so you have to want to tackle them,
As a guy in the secondary, how much do you look forward to going up against a team that's known for, spreading the ball around, passing it around?
As a DB, it's always fun playing the team that passes the ball a lot and stuff, You get a lot more action, more chances and everything. So it's definitely a fun matchup.
You've had two really weird games with them the last two matchups. You hold them to 2 and pick off 6 passes, and then last year they have the high completion rate. What do you make of those two different outcomes?
We analyze ourselves. We see what we did really well in 2020. And then last year we look at, kind of what our mistakes were and what we didn't do well. And, you got to make sure we don't repeat the same type of things this year.
How's your wrist, and does it affect your play at all?
It was good.
There have been games this year where you all started a little slow and were dominant in the second half on defense. Saturday you started fast and the second half was a struggle. How do you put that whole game together? That's what Coach White was just saying.
It starts with our older guys. Me and some of the other leaders on defense, we got to keep everybody going. Football games are long games, so we got to keep the energy, keep everybody together, and, making sure we're playing play 50 and 60 like it's play 1 or play 10.
How have you seen Zion progress over the season?
Zion's progressed a lot. He just even throughout the season, each week he's getting a lot better and stuff. You can tell he's getting more comfortable in our defense. He's learning all stuff a lot easier. The game looks like it's getting easier to him for sure.
He's not on your side of the ball, but how does having Will back elevate the energy that you say you need for the whole team?
That's one of our leaders and stuff. Anytime you get a leader back, it just, it ups everybody and stuff, especially, a player like Will. When you're going to have him playing, that just, for the morale, it ups it a little bit.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, Ty.
Thanks.
Questions for DeAndre?
DeAndre, Coach White was just talking about you've had good first halves, good second halves. He still needs that whole complete game from the defense. What's key to doing that?
Just being consistent and just, staying the course. Not thinking about – you can't be thinking about anything but, like, what's happening right now. Like, sometimes guys drifting. I've done it in my career, thinking about what I'm doing after the game. But you got to stay with the game plan, and you got to stay with, the core beliefs of what the team is. And, teams, they're going to make plays. But if we stay true to ourselves and just keep straining and just keep playing ball and just keep hustling, good things will happen.
What can you take from last year's game against Mississippi State into this game that you learned from?
Just being we was away at Mississippi State. I don't know if you guys been there. It's not a fun atmosphere to play in, but just being more excited to play. Not that we're not excited, but just bringing the passion and just being ready to we missed a lot of tackles that game and just ready to tackle. With that team, you can't let up. You can't let a catch behind the line of scrimmage go for 7 yards on first down, then you will be behind for the whole drive. So we gotta make tackles and just be physical and know what's coming.
Those missed tackles are uncharacteristic for you guys. Do you attribute it to anything? Is it lack of energy, trying to do too much?
I think playing defense my whole life. When the games or times when I miss tackles, I don't think it's like a lack of technique. I mean, like you can lose it, but I think it's more a mental thing. Like if you're not, like I said, if you're not in it, or if you're just thinking about too much, you're not thinking about the right technique. I mean, you can practice it so much that it just becomes second nature. But when open field tackling is probably the hardest thing to do. So if you're not focused on what's right in front of you or like anything, like that's how you miss tackles. Poor technique and
mind. So young guys filling in for Jack West the last 2 weeks. How have they done?
They're pretty good. I look at them like veterans. I mean, they're not young guys to me. So they do pretty good. I mean, they listen, they learn, and I mean, I feel like they've been here before. They played enough, practiced enough.
I'm sorry. Those guys have done a good job, but do you feel like you guys have missed Jack West's presence out there just from a leadership standpoint?
Of course. That's my buddy for the year, my mate. So, yeah, I mean, like we miss his presence. He's another vocal leader, that we're missing out on. Guy that loves football, it's just last year. So, I mean, obviously, like, we miss him, and, he makes plays all the time. So, whenever you can add a playmaker to your defense, you will always want it.
An offense like Mississippi State's, when they throw the ball so much, they run it more this year than they have in the past. But what kind of pressure does that put on linebackers like yourself? You mentioned tackling, but are there other things where it puts stress on the linebacker?
Just knowing your landmarks, getting in your drops, keeping your feet set so you can play and break. That's really the biggest thing with this team. If you look back to 2020, we played really good. I mean, I watched that game like 2 times already. I mean, everybody's in their drops, just waiting, and knowing what's coming. So that's a big part at linebacker for the 2 inside and not outside.
When you have 2 performances that were as different the last 2 times you played them, do you prefer to watch the good one and learn from that, or to watch the bad one and take notes from what you all did wrong?
I don't really have a preference. I watch both of them enough because I mean, like when you had a good game, it's 2 years ago. Sometimes you forget the good things that you did, but I'm the type of person, like when I mess up, I like to look at the bad things. So I watch the game and I look at we could have this, we could have that, but the year before we did that already. So I just try to take both of them and out there and practice and harp on it, like make sure everybody's running to the ball, feet set, playing and breaking, and making plays on the ball. Because there's plays to be made. The ball's in the air. Go get it.
Did you see any difference in the way they attacked you last season compared to that 2020 game, or did they just do what they do better?
Nah, it seemed like they were more efficient last year. It seemed like because 2020 was like, it's kind of new. Last year is a year into it. But they hit us with certain plays that we really didn't see last year. They emphasized some plays, so we're looking for that again this year.
Talk about Will being a leader. I mean, you're definitely a leader. How do you gauge the mood of the team right now, coming off that South Carolina game, going into Saturday?
Still in it, like energetic. Guys are still excited. They definitely still want to play ball. It's no guys that's just out there like, I wish this would be over. Like we still invested into the season because the season is not about, just the games, what I'm saying? It's about all the work you put in during the summer and the spring. So, I remind them guys that, and that always lights a fire. So, right now, we're ready.
DeAndre, how much have you followed what Coach Summerall's doing at Troy? Do you keep track of that and see he's got it kind of turned around there already?
I do keep track of it. He's a funny dude. It's like, the linebacker group, I feel like it's one of the funniest groups on the team. You probably won't know that because you always see it serious, but we always playing around. And Summerall, he'd get mad at us. So, he was always acting serious. We used to just, mock him. So, just seeing him, he's a head coach, you got to be serious. So, it's funny to me, to see him in that. But I'm happy, it's not it's like a cheerful funny. But, I see him on Twitter, the rap boys and stuff he's posting. It's funny. I laugh at it.
Anybody else? All right. Thanks, DeAndre.